Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of AI Governance Engineering with myself, Gavin. Let me tell you what I'm building today and why. So I'm working on making AI governance more than just box ticking exercises. Right now, when companies need ISO compliance assessments for their AI models, they either hire expensive consultants who take weeks, or they do superficial checkbox audits that don't actually improve their systems. So I'm aware of this problem and thought, what if we could automate the deep, comprehensive assessments, not just to make them faster, but also to make real AI governance accessible to everyone? So I decided to build something better. My goal was simple. When a machine learning engineer registers their model in AWS, it should automatically get assessed against ISO standards and either approved or rejected. No manual work, just instant automated compliance. So I'm building these tools for two reasons. First, to help myself when I eventually do consulting work. I want to offer clients something that's actually thorough and scalable. Second, to prove that AI governance doesn't have to be this bureaucratic nightmare. It can be fast, comprehensive, and actually useful. So what you're about to see is an automated ISO compliance gate that assesses AI models against 6 international standards. The moment they're registered, it's not just checking boxes, it's doing real analysis and generating actionable reports. So let me show you how this works. Okay guys, so what you're looking at here is Amazon SageMaker Studio. I've already created a sort of mock system for this demo. If we can just wait for this to load. There we go. So this is the model that I've created, my AI model. So I'll click into here. And here you've just got some examples of previous, or should I say, to give you some context. So imagine you're deploying certain models to AWS SageMaker. The way the tool is set up is that based on this combination of ISO standards, which I'll go over shortly, it will either outright reject the tool. So this is test model for compliance gate, and it's rejected it in this case. Let's have a look if there's any detail in here. But there's some customer, it's got 500,000 records if this was real, high impact customer decisions. The S3 bucket in there with the training data, models and versions. So you'd have some here like which would show you if it needed approval. Test model with fixed fabric layer, test model with home fix, final test with again, these are just examples, guys. So the descriptions are not quite, they're a bit misleading at the moment, but what it's meant to be showing you is just how the interface would look depending on how many systems you have deployed in SageMaker. So it would say that one's rejected. The description would be more fitting, and it's just showing you the capabilities. This one we're going to be looking at is version 5. It's saying that the tool has been approved, and this is a customer service chatbot. So if we click in, and we can see some activity here. So it's saying status has been updated to approved, event type approval, warning, approved with compliance gaps, the review is recommended. And again, this is just showing some previous activity that's happened when I've been building this example to show you. There was an error at first, and then we got it working properly. And then I'm not exactly sure what this shows yet. I guess it's just sort of the way the tool's connected. And what other details can you see in here? Again, just the 500,000 records is the data size that's used for this specific tool and where the bucket should rest. So then we can look at the CloudWatch logs for this. So when it was run, we can just see the process that the system goes through. So what happens here? Processing compliance assessment for model, and there's the ARN number, which you've seen previously. Retrieving LLM API key from Secrets Manager, API key configured, gathering model metadata from SageMaker model registry, building system description for fabric pattern, executing fabric comprehensive ISO audit pattern. This example, it failed again as I was building it out, but that's just a bug, but I'm trying to be transparent here. This is where it executed, approved, so updating, let's have a look, parsing compliance status from audit report. What else? The pattern's completed. Report length is 7,158 characters. Model registry is approved with a warning, approved with compliance gaps or reviews recommended. Stored audit report in S3. There's the link. It's also sent an SNS notification. So if I quickly go to my email, you should see that it's configured there and it's sent me a notification of approved with warning. So obviously this would get sent to the relevant or interested party. What else? Approved with warnings, compliance assessment complete successfully, status approved. And again, this is all the logs there, and this is great for auditing and your records. And then we'd go over to our buckets. So this is my bucket specifically for my tool. So AIG, which is my tool, compliance reports, click in. You can have many here, as you know already, especially if you're just playing around with Amazon, but I've kept this nice and clean for demonstration purposes. So here's my audit report. Number 5, as you'll recognize, correlates directly with the model that was approved, version 5 in this case. So version 5 report, and we've got 2 here. One was from earlier in the day. So I'll just click the latest one, compliance report.md. And obviously you can either open it here if you choose to look at it within the console itself, or you can download, which I've previously done, and the report can be seen here in Obsidian, or you can use any tool of your choice. So you can see here it's got the title, so Integrated ISO Audit Report, my AI Models version 5, as we saw earlier. Executive summary. The system under review is a PyTorch-based AI model designed as a customer service chatbot deployed on AWS SageMaker. The audit evaluates conformance across multiple ISO standards, and here's some of them: 291193, technical standard 421192, which has only recently come out. So it shows you how sort of cutting edge this tool is and the combination of them together. ISO 5259 for data quality, 5338 for AI lifecycle, 23894 for AI risk management specifically, and technical standard 25058, which I think is for quality evaluation. So overall conformance assessment is amber, so it's not bad, but it's not great. The system shows partial compliance with key standards with significant gaps in documentation and data quality processes. Top 5 cross-standard risks or deficiencies highlighted: lack of detailed test documentation, insufficient data quality metrics, incomplete AI lifecycle management processes, missing risk management framework for high-impact decisions, inadequate AI quality evaluation metrics, and a brief remediation plan there, which can be obviously amended to your specific business case and capabilities. Again, we've got something nice and visual here as a snapshot. There's the standards, the focus area of them, the overall status, the key strengths, the critical gaps, and the evidence required to remediate these problems. And then we have this section here, which I'm particularly proud of, and one of the reasons why I created the tool: cross-standard assessment. So first we start with 291193 for test documentation and evidence, required work product status, missing test policy, test strategy and test reports, test accuracy is reported but detailed documentation is absent, traceability links, it lacks linkage to 291192 processes and 291194 techniques, documentation gaps. This impacts the execution of the 421192 and 23894 risk mitigations. And you can see already that the potential gaps that you might miss as a company, or even as an auditor yourself, these requirements are new, they're fresh. You know, we haven't had the time to really build case studies and familiarity with the potential problems that we can be faced with, especially when it comes to these sort of black box AI systems and the technical depth that some of them required. They're not going to be transparent all the time. And as a consultant, do you have the technical know-how, or do you have the tools to dig deep and actually inform yourself and learn, and also provide, assurance to the business? Continuing, 42 technical standard 421192, which is brand new. So this is, when you think about an AI tool that's assessing the quality of an AI system, this is fresh. I brought this pretty much the day after it came out and started integrating it into this system here. So risk-based testing approach, no formal risk-based testing provided. Alignment of test levels, missing integration of AI-specific test types with identified risks. Test design techniques need a linkage to ISO 29119 documentation. Metrics integration lacks metrics from this technical standard and quality thresholds from this technical standard. So you can see, if you're already the usefulness of this tool ultimately is trying to feed into your readiness and your preparedness for being audited against 42001, essentially, or showing that you've done due diligence and care and concern for any mergers or acquisitions or any other related stakeholders that want to come and see. So we've got here ISO 5259, which is about data quality for analytics and machine learning. Stage-by-stage evaluation, no data quality assessment across the lifecycle stages. Measurement completeness, missing metrics for representativeness, accuracy, completeness, balance, identifiability, and transparency. Data governance, insufficient documentation to support 291193 and 23894. AI system lifecycle, incomplete documentation from inception to deployment, massive red flag. Again, people are focusing on certain things, but the AI system lifecycle also has to be documented and connected with the other standards, its dependencies, such as 5259 data processes, 42119 testing, and 23894 risk monitoring. So you can see already there's the gaps for error here are large, not only for the developers themselves, but for the auditors. The gaps you could be missing here are huge, and this is why I've sort of decided to niche down onto the machine learning and data side of things, because that is the foundation for all of AI, and that's going to pose the biggest risk for businesses. One, if you're not considering that, or you don't know how to monitor this and document this or test for this, and then auditors who also are not aware of this, you've got essentially the blind leading the blind. And then when certification bodies come in, those gaps might be glaringly obvious, or will they? Are these potential gaps that could get overlooked, and then the product gets put to market, and then it's only once the errors then surface, and then your system's being looked into, or your process is being looked into, and here you go, you've got none of this to show, best practices essentially, and that you've done everything possible to mitigate risks and harms. So let's continue. AI, specifically AI risk management, governance and framework. No structured risk management aligned with 31,000, which is like the standard risk management from ISO. Risk identification, lacking analysis and evaluation for AI specific threats. Integration with controls affects life cycle, testing, mitigations, and data controls. This one is another one which I brought this, and I completely forgot about it when I was studying for the AIGP certification. And I saw it there and I was like, let me have a look at this. And it's a technical standard, 25058, which focuses on AI quality evaluation. So I decided to merge this into the tool just to add another layer of assurance. Quality characteristics coverage, insufficient coverage of quality characteristics. Measurement plans, missing plans that reference 25023, 22, and 25059. Evaluation evidence lacking support for 291193 and 421192. So again, this is just, to me, like being creative with the ISO standards, because I don't really see this kind of conversation happening online as such, or if it is, it's hidden away. So I'm trying to just bring some creativity into how we can extract as much from these standards, map them together in unique ways so that there's just no stone left unturned, as much as possible anyway, and that we can provide assurance to businesses, auditors, and essentially the customer ultimately, and society, I guess, at large. So here you've got unified risk and control analysis. It's got risks, a risk ID, a description of the risk, the source and standard that it's related to, the life cycle stage that it impacts. I mean, this is just brilliant. Testing stage, the training and validation and deployment stages, mitigation testing, develop comprehensive documentation, residual risk, high, owner to be confirmed. Obviously, you can input that yourself. The date or how immediate it is now, short term, medium term, evidence and documentation map, artifacts listed, test policy required by this standard with this specific clause. It's missing. Owner to be decided. You can include links to the repo and next actions that you must take. Data quality plan related to this standard and this clause in particular. It's missing. Develop assessment framework. And you can just see, guys, this is only just the start. As I tweak the tool and get it to do more and more, it's going to be really valuable. Then you get a brief recommendations roadmap and appendices. This is just one way of viewing it inside Obsidian. You can also have it inside your IDE, inside Cursor, whichever one suits you basically. It just gives a different feel, but essentially it's the same documentation. So if we go back to SageMaker Studio and we see that our deployment status is approved currently, but if we look at the approval decision, its status is updated to approved, but there's a warning, it's approved with compliance gaps and the review is recommended, and we've just done that review. So the compliance gap automatically updated the model status based on the audit findings because we got an amber rating, meaning good enough to deploy, but with known improvement areas. It approved the model. If we got on a red rating, say critical security gaps or missing regulatory requirements, the model would have been automatically rejected with no human intervention needed. And the next step for me is to begin mapping the contents of this tool to the EU AI Act articles for even more assurance or deeper assurance. Again, no tool is going to be perfect, that's for sure. But you know, what do we have right now, and at what price and at what risk? So I think it's important that we just start being creative with what we know, what we've got, what we can do. And I believe this tool is a step in the right direction. I'm just learning. I've never really used AWS before. I've never built stuff myself in code. So it's not perfect, but I'm just using my creativity and my ideas based on my understanding of the AI governance landscape and thinking, well, what's the gaps here? How can we solve these issues? Because other than that, it becomes really overwhelming. And, I'm not even developing any AI as such. So hopefully you can see that, the potential and the value in this tool at its current state. And obviously this can be scaled across 1 or 1,000 models and however many AWS accounts. It integrates directly into your existing MLOps workflow. So data scientists can register models like they always do. And this compliance gate just runs automatically. Models that pass go straight to production, and models that don't get a clear remediation roadmap. So if you're deploying AI in, say, healthcare, the EU AI Act compliance is mandatory. Financial services, ISO 42001 certification would be expected. If you're in government, there's an expectation for risk management frameworks. And the fees are just going to be astronomical if you're talking the top 4. And again, those guys don't even have the answers anyway. They're just, they're just sort of licensing other tools from other vendors, let's say. So they don't even have the answer, and they're going to charge you a healthy price for that. So I believe that these tools are a step in the right direction, and they're going to be a fraction of the cost, and the impact they can have will be massive when you consider that most small to medium enterprises are going to naturally be underserved by these bigger firms developing compliance or automated compliance tools. So where do I go from here? So I've just built this automated compliance gate for SageMaker model registry, 6 ISO standards assessed simultaneously, audit trail in S3, automatic approve, reject decisions. Phase 2, again, like I've just mentioned, I'm thinking custom compliance policies per business unit, for example, integration with Jira, ServiceNow for remediation tracking, maybe some compliance dashboard showing portfolio-wide trends, and then a pre-deployment risk scoring. Next, I might consider multi-cloud support, but for right now, I'm still just getting the hang of AWS, so I doubt that will be on a priority. What else? Again, probably the main thing now is regulatory mapping. So I need to map this clearly and cleverly to the EU AI Act, and then actually look at making it continuously monitor. For now, it's just, again, in demo mode, but the point is that it would be autonomous. So if you're building production AI systems and need to prove compliance with international standards, this is how you do it at scale. Compliance doesn't have to be manual. Automate it into your CI/CD pipeline. Standards aren't scary. Break them down into actionable requirements like I've done here. And machine learning operations plus GRC equals the future. Governance should be baked into the deployment process. And I think that's an alarm call for businesses and for consultants. The old rules don't apply. We cannot come in with a checklist or a spreadsheet and expect to provide assurance to all stakeholders within this industry. It's just not possible. So any questions, please drop them in the comments. Anything you want to see how I develop this tool out, then please let me know. Just remember, compliant AI is deployable AI. And thanks again. This has been myself, Gavin, and you're watching the AI Governance Engineering Show, and I'll speak to you again soon.